Hey, CFMA, the question that I will address today is, what are the three elements of the fraud triangle? My name is Peter Harris. I have a background in this area as I hold a number of anti-fraud and forensic designations, and I've written more than 24 articles on this topic. The question that I will address is, what are the three elements of the fraud triangle? Before addressing this question is, why is the fraud triangle important? In order for fraud to be transacted, each of these elements of the fraud triangles has to exist. So this is why the fraud triangle is very important. This idea was developed by Dr. Donald Cressy, and we will go over each of these elements. Number one is pressure need. Usually, the fraudster has a monetary need. He may have outstanding bills, outstanding gambling losses. He may be going through a divorce. So he needs money. So he will resort to a fraud transaction to fulfill this need. Although usually monetary, it doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. Bernie Madoff, for example, probably had a need to outsmart his clientele, his billionaire clientele. Maybe he wanted to prove that he was superior in intelligence. Other people have a need to be in the public eye. They want to be in the press. So usually the need is monetary, but not necessarily. The second part of the fraud triangle is opportunity. The fraudster has to have an opportunity to commit fraud. Without an opportunity, fraud cannot be committed. Examples will include companies that don't have segregation of duties. Companies may give their employees additional duties that they shouldn't give. As an example, a secretary may have access to checks. This may allow her to forge checks. A construction company may allow its workers access to the warehouse. This may lead to theft. So this opportunity is key because the employer controls. So as a construction company, this is what you can control, and I will discuss later. If you want to cut fraud, you have to cut the opportunity. The third area of the fraud triangle is rationalization. This is basically the fraudster's excuse for committing the crime, whereby it is an acceptable act. Basically, the fraudster saying, listen, I did nothing wrong. What I did was acceptable. Let me give you some examples. An employee embezzles funds from the company because he has a large debt bill. He may interpret this as a loan. He needs this money to pay the loan up, and he'll repay it later on. Other cases, an employee may embezzle money from the company because he feels he's been underpaid for many years. So he okays that. He rationalizes it in that manner. Interestingly, financial statement fraud is usually justified in a heroic way. When a CEO or CFO may justify this financial statement fraud as a way of keeping employees working. Their reasoning is, if we present the correct numbers, the company may shut down, we're going to have layoffs, and the poor employees lose their jobs. By committing the fraud, we keep employees working, they pay the bills, and we, in fact, are heroes. The key that we also have to understand is the three layers of the fraud triangle are ever changing. As an example, you hire an employee today that loves his job. 5 years later, he feels like he's been underpaid. So now he has a rationalization for committing fraud. An employee who's single gets a job today. 5 years later, he's going through a divorce. Now he's got a need to commit fraud. Companies may change their controls over fraud. So the opportunity also changes. So the problem with diagnosing fraud is that these three elements are over changing. Now, the key to fraud prevention and mitigation is shutting down the opportunity part of the fraud triangle. This is done by the implementation of effective internal controls, which need to be placed and operational for a construction company to prevent and mitigate incidents of fraud. Internal controls are checks and balances designed by senior management or owners and are classified as preventive controls, which are aimed to prevent something bad happening, to prevent fraud. And detective controls, which are aimed to minimize the effect of something bad happening or from fraud from becoming a material amount. So these are the ways companies can minimize fraud. Internal controls are required for public companies, but every company should have them in place because that's the best insulation to shut down the opportunity. I thank you very much for watching my video.